We're doing something a little bit different here, and that is we are having something we're calling rapid fire keynotes. The rapid fire keynote, I'm not allowed to call it a TED Talk, TM, but it's like a TED Talk. So just pretend I didn't say that. It's a 20-minute condensed speech of all of the vast amount of information that these people have. So it's a challenge for them to do it, but it's a good one. And I think that you'll enjoy it. We've got several of them this morning, and I'm going to move right on to our first one and introduce Javier Pérez-Tasso. He's Chief Executive for Americas in the UK for Swift. And just a little bit about him in terms of what he's been doing. He's been in this role since August 2015. This is about growth and client relationships and the future. But it's worth noting that he was CMO when he was, I think, starting in 2012 for Swift. And that included management and strategy and the development of new products, including Swift 2020, the company strategy, which was launched last July. He's been head of their organization around the world. So he's been in Western Europe, Middle East, Africa, Paris, Madrid. I would give you the list of his academic accomplishments, but it would be like a TED Talk. But suffice to say, he's an engineer who also has a master's degree in finance and not one, but 2 degrees, 2 MBAs. So a bit of an overachiever or didn't want to leave school. I don't know, you decide. Javier, please join us on stage.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Amanda. Actually, the thing I feel more proud about my education is the last year of university I did here in Canada, actually, in McMaster University. But anyway, that aside, just a couple of months back, I gave a speech at a conference citing a well-known quote from Gordon Moore. And by the way, I'm going to take my clicker here. Gordon Moore, who's the co-founder of Intel, who some 50 years ago famously said that change has never been this fast and it will never be this low again. So I was referring to that when talking about the global digitalization trend that is getting ever more sophisticated. There was talk at Davos about the 4th industrial revolution, and which is basically an industrial interplay of technology, not just mobile and cloud, but also robotics, sensors, and big data, that is causing us to reimagine how we're going to live, interact, and do business in the future. It is expected that by 2020, over 50 billion devices will be interconnected. So there is no doubt we live in a rapidly changing environment. We all know that. And this is going to have a massive effect on financial services. And at the highest level of abstraction, we could say that financial institutions face 2 major challenges. The first one is that they need to remain resilient, compliant, and cost-efficient. All 3 are part of today's license to operate and are increasingly hard to achieve, especially with a fast-moving cyber threat environment, with changing regulatory expectations and increasing competition. The second challenge, it's all about, as we know, innovation and transformation, the harnessing that 4th industrial revolution. But if anything, over the past few months, that quote from Moore has proven to be even more relevant. And not just on the innovation front, by the way, also in business as usual operations. That's why today I want to focus my speech on 3 major areas of change. The first one is cybersecurity. The second is fintech. And the third is the foundation, is a foundation of the other 2, which is infrastructure. So these 3 are happening now and are transforming our industry beyond any former recognition. So let's move to the first one, cyber. So on cyber, it is no exaggeration to say that the industry is facing a defining moment. I know most of you here in the audience have probably read the headlines in the press over the past few weeks and months about reporting fraudulent transactions being sent over the SWIFT network. So in light of this recent publicity, allow me to elaborate a bit more on the facts of what happened and also share with you what are the actions we're taking. So first, the facts. So as most of you know, you're very familiar with Swift's company mission. You know that cybersecurity is front and center for Swift. It is not an afterthought. It is part of our DNA to maintain the highest level of security, resilience, and availability of services. And I think it is important at this point to reiterate something that you've probably read as well, but I think it's crucial, is that Swift has not been breached. The Swift network, messaging services, and operating centers have not been compromised. What have been compromised, however, are some of our customers' local environments. Perpetrators followed a very consistent modus operandi. They first compromised the bank's environment. They then stole credentials from one of the bank's applications. They then used these legitimate credentials to to input fraudulent transactions. And what made these attacks really sophisticated is that they basically covered their tracks. They wiped out all the evidence by deleting logs, transactions from applications, and even external devices such as printers. And all that to gain time in order to extract the money. So this is in summary the facts of what happened. So where does that lead us? So as Swift, as you know, is an industry-owned cooperative, is an infrastructure provider providing services to in excess of 11,000 customers in more than 200 countries. And as any other infrastructure provider, it is vital that our customers adopt preventive and detective measures to protect their customer environment. And while we cannot secure or even take responsibility, we want to be part of the solution. We know we can be, and we're going to be. So that's why we've stepping up to the plate, and you've probably heard already that we've recently launched a very important, crucial customer security program that is going to basically help the community help itself or protect itself against potential cyber threats. So this customer security program has 5 major focus areas that are mutually reinforcing. The first one is about improving information sharing among the global community. It's about sharing timely and valuable intelligence around incidents, threats, and suspect activities. And we're going to achieve that by ensuring anonymity and confidentiality to our customers. The second one is about enhancing the Swift-related tools that we provide to our customers. This is basically hardening some of our own products to help our customers protect themselves against potential cyber attacks. The third one is all about security guidelines. We provide security guidelines to our customers, but these are not actionable, and therefore they are not auditable and enforceable. So we're going to first enhance those security guidelines to a new level, and then provide audit frameworks. The fourth is about increasing transaction pattern detection to identify anomalies and unexpected behavior. And the fifth one, very important to support the overall ecosystem, is to extend our network of third-party providers to cyber and audit firms. So the fight against cyber, as we know, is a global challenge for the global industry. And if there is one message, is that this program will only be successful if we join forces, if we act together. It will require the continuous collaboration between Swift, our customers, overseers, and third-party providers. And as we know, the threat landscape is evolving very rapidly, so we need to act fast. That's why we expect to have made significant progress on all of these initiatives by the coming Cybos in Geneva. So that's cyber. Let me now move into the second area of change, which is a Fintech, which we know it's a worldwide phenomenon, but it's particularly strong here in Canada. We have in excess of 80 Fintech companies, mostly headquarters in Vancouver, Toronto, and Waterloo, that have attracted about $1 billion investments, $1 million investments over the past 5 years. Toronto itself is ranked in the world's top 10 financial services sectors, and it has recently, as you know, created a new fintech cluster in the Mars Discovery District that has the ambition to rival with New York and London as fintech hubs in the future. And looking at the bigger picture, we know the global investment in fintech is accelerating and is set to hit the $8 billion mark by 2018. And what is even more impressive is it has grown 4 times faster than overall venture capital investments over the past 3 years. So it's really impressive. Clearly, fintech accelerating, and if you think about it, this acceleration of fintech is creating kind of a competitive race. A competitive race between incumbent players, and new entrants in the market. Which got me thinking about another competition, another competitive sport that is, by the way, a reference here in Canada. And I managed to get to understand when I lived here 20 years ago. Any guesses about which sport I'm referring to? Reference in Canada? Hockey, indeed. So here we go. And this Team Canada, of course, also a favorite. But you may be wondering why a guy from Barcelona is interested in hockey. You know, in Spain, there are basically 5 ice hockey clubs, and not very big ones. But my mother, when I was still a kid, happened to put me into one of them. So I did play for a good 5 years hockey, but I was not even close to making the mark like these guys, so I had to move to something else. But anyway, that's a different story. But back to our industry and the competition going on. This competitive race is the winners of the competitive race can be relatively unheard of new entrants or experienced incumbents. Fintechs have a natural advantage when it comes to innovation and technology. They are not encumbered by legacy systems. They can build from scratch, and they can deploy the latest technologies very quickly. But what they don't always have, and that's where incumbents have a natural advantage, is the power of distribution, the strength of having thousands or even millions of customer relationships. So we can predict that the winners or the most successful companies and sustainable companies in the future will be those that combine both of these dimensions. Harnessing business model innovation and latest technologies very fast, while maximizing distribution, leveraging the sizable customer base. So we are clearly in a highly competitive environment. Market access continues to open up. Fintech innovation is accelerating, and new services coming on stream all the time. Which leads me to my third and final point about change today, which is infrastructure. And which, by the way, doesn't always get the spotlight. Because a lot of the action, a lot of the activity is happening in the retail space, but it is the underlying platforms, technologies, and systems that support a lot of this customer-facing innovation. And there are analogies that can be made with other industries too. I mean, transport is an obvious one. Take the Union Pearson Express. So we know, launched last year. The primary objective, as we know, is to support the growing demand of passengers from the airport to downtown Toronto. But it can also be a trigger for additional investments and future innovations. So back to our industry, and change at the infrastructure level is already happening and is well underway. It is true at the level of banks, as there is a lot of focus, as you know, in improving legacy systems, in simplifying processes to support this front-end innovation, and even integrate new offerings from fintechs. But it's also true at the level of domestic market infrastructures, payments and securities systems, where change is happening across many fronts. I mean, for example, an obvious one is standards, and the global adoption of ISO 20022 that as you know, is a global standard. It's the first global standard that spans across geographies, across business domains, not only payments, but also securities and FX, and across segments within a business domain. For example, in payments, high value and retail payments. And by the way there, Canada has led the way since very early on, as back as 2012, to roll out that standard, and as part of not a silo project, but as part of a holistic approach towards payments modernization, which, as we know, goes far beyond real-time payments. And by the way, on that note, we at Swift are very pleased to be part of the discussions and analysis around the future infrastructure in payments here in Canada. So as we've seen, that's one of the biggest challenges now that the industry is facing, is that on the one hand, they're going to need to make choices in terms of designing the future infrastructure. At the global level, it can be adapting or improving existing systems, or the more radical introduction of brand new technologies and architectures. And talking about brand new technologies and architectures, I've been talking about 15 minutes now, and I haven't even mentioned blockchain. So some of you may be getting worried. Right? Okay, so no, seriously, blockchain is definitely a major topic for our industry today, and it holds the promise to transform the payments and securities landscape, to increase resilience and transparency, to provide full traceability of the information, to simplify reconciliation, and support data-driven processes. So it can definitely be a very disruptive force, but at the same time, we're some way off addressing some implementation challenges in a permissioned environment, as we've recently written in a position paper in collaboration with Accenture. And some of these implementation challenges are identity management, performance and scalability, compliance with regulatory requirements such as KYC and sanctions, and also, again, standards, which is key if we want the technology to become interoperable and backward compatible with legacy systems. That's an essential one. And back to my first point of the speech around the cybersecurity challenge. This is one that Bitcoin and blockchain providers will also have to wrestle with. As we've seen, take Bitcoin, which is the most popular implementation of distributed ledger technology. Many Bitcoins have been stolen by hackers accessing the wallets and exchanges where the private keys are stored. So hackers are not compromising the core system, the ledger itself. They're accessing the periphery, the edges. So sounds familiar, right? Same modus operandi. So that's why, regardless of the technology going forward in the future, it is essential that we strengthen the customer security programs, that we strengthen the edges of our customers, and that's why we are so much focusing on helping our customers protect themselves and making that customer security program a success, not only for Swift, but for the industry as a whole. So to conclude, I mean, whether it is cybersecurity, the future or the fintech explosion, the evolution of technology and infrastructure, we are now creating the future of the payments landscape. We are all in a process towards that will influence the next decade and beyond. And if change is a new normal, one thing that cannot be disputed is that it is accelerating, and therefore I would say that Moore was right. Change has never been this fast and will most certainly never be this slow again. Thank you all, and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Javier. I was at a hotel conference recently, and 3 global hotel CEOs all agreed that Airbnb is not a problem. So it's a relief to hear one of the major incumbents in the space acknowledge the disruptive forces that are out there and coming, because that's the only way to survive.